This is Dave Espino, and on today's Daily Hustle, I want to talk about one of my absolute favorite quotes of all time, and it's by my mentor, Jim Rohn. Now, Jim unfortunately passed away a couple years ago, but he is one of the most amazing speakers. Jim Rohn's audio and videos are some of the best that you can have for self-improvement, in my opinion. And he just has some of the most down-home, the most common sense, and the most really powerful, profound insights into working in your own business. And it's going to dramatically help you in your attitude department. You know, I always talk about the two most important things, the attitude and your level of action, right? When it comes to your attitude, I can't recommend anybody more highly than Jim Rohn. So be sure, I'm going to put a link down below to his website so you can check it out. Amazing, amazing stuff, good quality stuff that's going to feed your brain in a really good way. And speaking of feeding your brain, the quote that he had that I just love is, "Formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune." And I know this to be true in my own business. You know, one of the things I did when I was starting out in life, I was about 19 years old, was I started attending a lot of real estate seminars. And from that, I determined that I needed to work on myself just as much as I needed to work on my knowledge of real estate. Fortunately, by the time I was 23, I was able to buy 4 properties totaling 12 units with no money down. And it sounds like, I know this sounds like a testimonial, but it's totally true. I followed the strategies that they taught me in these real estate seminars, and I was able to do it. I was able to make it happen. But even at the time, I knew that what they were saying was true, that I needed to work just as hard on myself, on my mind, than I did on knowing the strategies. It's one thing to know how to do something. It's a whole nother thing to manage your attitude and to manage your mindset through that process to be able to make the best of it. So, you know, sports stories are littered with people who made millions of dollars in sports, and then 3 or 4 years after they retire, the money's gone. Why? It's because they worked really, really well on their sport. They worked really, really well on what they had to do to make that money, but they weren't working very well on how to manage that money or how to manage their mindset about that money. Same thing happens with lottery winners. You find a lot of lottery winners that a couple years after they win the lottery, they're completely broke. Why? Well, they didn't spend their time, their life, I should say, building up a knowledge of how to handle that instant wealth. Nobody knows how to handle that instant wealth. And so they didn't know how to handle it, and therefore it frittered away. And it's amazing, but mindset plays such an important part. So how does this relate to this quote? Well, Jim Rohn says, formal education will make you a living. In other words, formal education, like going to high school, going to college, maybe even getting an advanced degree, that is fine for getting you a job. That's fine for getting you a 9-to-5, right? But then he says, self-education will make you a fortune. What I think he means by self-education is improving your mindset, improving your attitude, working on those life skills that you know you need to build up in order to achieve greatness. Learning how to start a business, for example, online. Listening to the Daily Hustle, in my opinion, is one of those things that's going to provide for you a fortune. It's going to provide, first, a fortune in your mind, understanding the concepts and the strategies, understanding the mindset, understanding the attitude, and then that's going to play out in your real world as you start to implement and start to see this mindset change shift things happening in your real world. So remember, formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. And the way that I used self-education, I studied real estate for 3 years before I bought my first property. And then I went to town and I started buying property. The reason I was very confident in buying property at age 22 or so is because I had given myself the confidence by studying self-education, right? Studying, and knowing exactly what I was going to do if I ran into this real estate situation or that real estate situation or made an offer there. I knew exactly what I was going to do because I was confident. The only way I developed that confidence was by studying my topic at a deep, deep level to where I knew it cold. The same thing applies to you and your online business. You want to study and study and study the online business world to such a level to where you've got so much confidence that when you go out there, you know exactly what to do, you know exactly how to do it, and it works for you. Now, along with study comes action, right? You can't just study all the time and not take action. You've got to be studying and taking action and implementing on those things you're studying so that you learn both ways. You learn through book knowledge or video knowledge, and you learn through experience as well. You apply the principles that you learn, and I don't care what product or what course it is, you apply that as soon as possible so that you can then experience in real life how it's working out for you and if it aligns with what you're learning. That's how you make a fortune. You build it one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time. So remember, look up Jim Rohn. I'm going to give you a link down below this video. And remember, formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a life. I'll see you tomorrow on The Daily Hustle.